Mario, it's been an awesome pleasure just filming with you and spending some time with you. But the one thing that I really wanted to ask you was, me being an inspiring entrepreneur, or whatever it is that I'm leading up to as of right now, which most people think that I am going to be an aspiring entrepreneur, if not already. I really want to know somebody who's already done it, and I want to be able to kind of pick your brain as to how you feel about the overall process of being an entrepreneur, and then handling life things, like family, and how the stress comes with it. A lot of the things that come with being an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I think first thing I'll tell you is you are an entrepreneur, because I think there's not like a pre-phase entrepreneur, right. Like I'm in the minor leagues and I'm getting ready, because an entrepreneur to me is a mindset. You can have an entrepreneurial mindset in anything that you do, and so I'll start off by saying that you are there. I wish I was in your mindset when I was your age, but for me, to understand where I'm at now, you really have to understand kind of my journey. And so I'll just take it back. I wasn't raised by anybody who owned the business. I wasn't raised by somebody who went out and really grinded on a daily basis. Right. I was always taught, go to school, get your degree, and go to corporate. So that's what I did. By the time I was 24 years old, I was a six-figure earner. 27, bought my first house, married, family, the dog, the BMW, and golf on Fridays. I thought that was it. About going on 5 years ago now, I had a Tuesday morning meeting with my director, and I got laid off. And it was at that point where for the first time ever, I realized that traditional model didn't work. And then I started meeting people who truthfully I didn't think were that much better than me, didn't think that they were that much more talented than me. They just thought differently. And they were crushing it. I remember I met a pair of brothers who didn't even they barely graduated high school. They were millionaires. And they were running a multi-million-dollar construction company. And I asked them, how did this happen? They were just like, well, we got out of high school, we had one truck, and we just started building a business. And we got more jobs, and it landed into more jobs, and we had to bring in our buddy, and the next thing you know, now we have 4 different locations, we have over 90 employees, and we have like 15 trucks and multiple, different contracts that we manage. And I didn't have any business background, Mario. I didn't have a degree in business. They just had a different mindset. They did not want to work. They did not want to go to school, right? And so for me, that's how I got introduced to this. I say it was by kind of like by fire. When you get pushed out of your nest, you have to fly. You have to figure something out when you have a wife and children that are depending on you. And so that's really how I got to this point. Then I decided to take that first step into being an entrepreneur, and that's a whole nother story.
That's insane. So then what do you think, because I feel like some people might want to try and do it, but they may not be good at it. So then what do you think about in terms of strengths?
I think you have to be horrible first before you can be good. And you have to be okay with that. You have to understand that you're not going to be good at being an entrepreneur if you weren't raised by entrepreneurs, if you weren't raised by people. Most of us know what we know about finance. We know what we know about life. We know what we know about relationships by the people who raised us. And we didn't have a choice in that matter. You know what I mean? So the person who raised me to think about finance wasn't necessarily financially free. Right. One of the first people that I met as I became first thing I did was network marketing. One of the first mentors that I ever had said, look at the people in your life. Is there anyone you know that is financially free? Now, I had a lot of people that I knew that made good money, but nobody was financially free. Right? Freedom to me is choices. Right. And so when I made that step, it's crazy, right? When I made that step into network marketing laid the foundation for entrepreneurism, which then just opened up into other areas where since then I've been in exporting, since then I've done different online businesses, since then I've done social media marketing. I mean, there's just a lot of other things that have really my mindset open, but it was because I got into network marketing for the first time, and so that when I made that step into that threshold is really where the game really started, when it became really fun.
Wow, that's insane. So then with you being a Christian, how do you think you're able to tie in your faith with what it is that you do? Because I feel like a lot of people feel like that's a different thing. Like I am Christian, but I'd rather leave that at the door and then go handle business and then come back and pick it right back up.
Right. Well, I think that For me, God used entrepreneurism to really help me to understand and to check my intentions. You see, because at an early age in corporate America, I made a great amount of money, right? And so I remember thinking that I was first this position, and I just so happened to be a Christian. And God used financing to flip that. You know, when I really, after fire, by the way, after being broke, after being, you know, having to borrow money from my dad in this entrepreneurial journey, God flipped that. And he helped me to understand that first you're a Christian that just so happens to be an entrepreneur. Whereas before it was, hey, I'm an entrepreneur. Oh, I'm a Christian too. Right? And so that only happened by fire. Absolutely. Like my identity shifted. My identity was not an entrepreneur and, oh, cool, you're a believer? Right on. No, it's first I'm a believer and then, by the way, I'm also an entrepreneur. Right on. Right? And so that only happened, though, by fire. You know, that only happened, you know. So for me, I had some really good success as an entrepreneur, and I decided to go full-time, quit my job. And I didn't know what I didn't know. So I believe I went full-time too quick, but I sold my home, right? Moved my family back in with my parents because I was blessed with a set of parents that believed in me. And my dad was like, look, if you're going to do this, do it right. Save all your overhead and go make this happen. So we moved back in with my parents. People don't know that. A lot of people don't know my journey. You know, I bought a massive home, right? A huge home, 6 bedrooms, you know, 9,000 square foot lot, 3,600 square foot house. And there I was, moved back in with my parents. But it was a sacrifice that we were willing to make. But even at that point, my intentions were not others first. It was still me first, right? And so when we got back into my parents' house, a lot of things happened. The business tanked. Got into my dad's, it was flying. Moved into my dad's, it tanked. And so there was a lesson there because I got stranded. I got trapped. And I couldn't figure out a way to get out. And so I had to go, and that's why I started figuring out anything. You know, one of my my mentors had a shirt that said, when there's no wind, row. And I think of that scene with Tommy Boy. Remember that movie? And he's sitting at the end, and he's sitting in a little boat, and there's no wind, and he's not going anywhere. He's just waiting for the wind. Well, in that moment, there was no wind, so I had to row. And I realized that rowing all on my own, when it really counted, when I had no money in the bank, when there was no way to feed my own kids, I needed God. And I needed the Lord to really take over. And that when I really, really started letting him help me row, it's actually when he brought wind. And then the sails filled up and it took off, man. And so I say that I learned that the hard way. I learned that by going through fire. Man, I sold a home and I went after it. That takes a lot of guts.
It does.
And all the pride I had was in me. It wasn't even in God. Like, it wasn't even my confidence. I said it, but I really didn't believe it. I really just thought it was about me. And so that's why I tanked. And God had to like bring me back out to the point where I was literally relying on him for everything. And that's when the wind came and the boat started moving again.
Straight grace.
Dude.
Wow.
Crazy, man.
That's insane. So last thing, what's your favorite Bible verse? Does it have to be perfect? Just maybe even.
Well, I think it's one that a lot of people say, but it's Romans 8:28. You know, because all things will work together for good for those that love Christ. And for me, I've gone down a lot of different paths. You know, I've even become a different person. Thank God, through this journey. People who knew me 10 years ago, they don't know me because I'm not the same person. Right. You know, I've had some of the same skills, some of the same passions, some of the same kind of go get it, you know, type of mentality, but my heart and my mindset is completely different. Wow. And so you go down these paths that are wrong. You go down these endeavors that you shouldn't be in, especially as a child of God. There's people that I've been in business with that I probably shouldn't have, right? Knowing I shouldn't have, feeling God's tugging, like don't go there.
Why? Was that just because of misalignment of values, or?
A little bit of both, probably misalignment in my spirit. Wow. Understanding that I needed to do whatever it took in my own might to make it happen because I had people counting on me. Wow. And so going and doing these things and then learning lessons and getting hand slapped out of love, right, as a good father does, right? But then he'll work it all out because now I can sit down with somebody like you, somebody who's young, who's aspiring, who's hungry, who has the guts like I did, right? Who has built a bulletproof mindset that they don't listen to people.
Right.
But you have to understand that that's all me focused. Guts, bulletproof mindset, grind, all that is me focused, because it is you versus you.
Right.
But really, it's you and God versus you. You have to really help the Lord to be at the very beginning. And so he works it all together, man. He brings it all together for good. And not only that, where I'm at with my wife, my kids,
Right.
what I've been able to share with them and watch them, they've literally watched me come through the fire. My wife has literally been there when we didn't have another dime. We didn't know what we were going to do next weekend, and have been there together. And we've been able to watch God literally move miraculously over and over and over again, man. And so for me, being a believer that is an entrepreneur is amazing, because everything I do is this. No, I don't have a boss that's going to tell me
Right.
not to talk to you about the Lord.
Right.
I'm going to do what I do because I am my boss, right? And so being an entrepreneur, being a believer, you never know what your day is gonna open up to. You never know where you could be, who you could be talking to, who you could be praying with, and it's just been an incredible journey, bro. Pretty cool.
Dude, I appreciate you thinking. Last thing
Yeah,
thing
for sure.
overall. Favorite quote?
Favorite quote: people don't care what you know until they know that you care.
There it is.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Because I think that there's a lot of people that are book knowledge and they have a lot of smarts, but they don't care about people. And so I think that the most important thing that you can do as an entrepreneur is really understand that you are an entrepreneur. To me, is just a relationship expert. I didn't realize this early in my career. I thought that in corporate specifically, if I ran you over, it didn't matter as long as I got what I needed, because I needed to move that needle. I won a lot. I won a lot of awards. I made good money, and then I looked back, and a lot of people didn't like me, right? And so I was like, well, yeah, but I won. And they're like, yeah, but nobody wants you around. They don't like you,
true.
right? And so, but as an entrepreneur, people don't have to be around you. So if they don't like you, they don't have to do business with you, right? If I don't like you and we work together, you could be the jerk next door in the cube that I can't stand.
Yeah.
But if I don't like you and we're entrepreneurs, I don't do business with you. Right? And so it's impossible to please everybody, but you have to understand that relationships are everything, right? I heard a young family member of mine one time on Facebook saying, like in a negative way, oh man, it's all about who you know, right? And all these other guys were like talking about it, right? And I got on there and I said, you're absolutely right. It is all about who you know. First of all, it's all about knowing the Lord.
Right.
But then when you take it to the next level, yes. The problem is you never knew anybody, bro. Where we grew up, we didn't know anybody. Right? We knew people who worked in warehouses. We knew people, and those are good, honorable positions and honorable professions. But they're not going to get you anywhere on your networking journey, on your entrepreneurial journey. So I said, now that you have the key, it's like I gave you, remember we talked about Nintendo a little while ago, right? I gave you the code on Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. If you decide not to use it, that's your fault, right? The key, the code to winning the game, is it go and know some people. Nobody's stopping you from coming to a networking event. Nobody's stopping you from going and adding more people that are professionals. No one's stopping you from going to the local real estate company and saying, hey, can I come and work one day a week here just to learn, right? If you don't do it and you have the keys to win the game, that's your fault. And so for me, I realized that networking is all about relationships. And so, yeah, have I burned some relationships in the past? Have I pissed people off? Do people have bad taste in their mouth about me in the past? Yeah, unfortunately, and I hope to one day be able to, fix that. But it is what it is, and you got to just keep growing. You got to keep moving. I can't beat myself up because of that. I got to keep growing, and impact more people on the day-to-day, because it's attraction marketing, man. The more people you help, the more people want to come. That's it. That's all it comes down to.
I like that. Well, Mario, thank you, dude.
Appreciate it, bro.
You.
For sure, man. Thank you, man. This was awesome.
Stay ready.
That's right, man.